the flickering rev cannon.
The rally began in a unique fashion on the Perth foreshore on a specially constructed course, allowing drivers to match their skills in cars two at a time. The first pairing was the Spaniard Carlos Sainz against the Italian Mickey Biasion, both two-time world champions.
He goes back on the brakes. He'll go down through the tunnels. Over the top goes Biasion.
The next pairing, French star Didier Auriol and Finnish legend Ari Vatanen, was equally impressive. But for Vatanen, it was to be a disastrous beginning. That mistake cost the Finn 12 seconds and meant he would start the day trying to catch the leaders. And just how hard that would be became obvious when Juha Kankkunen hit the track. The three-time world champion was immediately on the pace, and his time of 1 minute 39 was the fastest of the day, 2 seconds faster than anyone else. Local hero Ross Dunkerton, driving a new Mitsubishi Lancer, showed that if he was having trouble adapting to the new car, it was minimal. His time of 1:43 was faster than several of the more highly fancied team drivers.
But Dunkerton doing a great job here. Ah, he'll be pleased.
After the fun of the spectator stage, the serious stuff began around 100 kilometres east of Perth. While some drivers may have preferred to work their way up to top pace, Toyota drivers Auriol and Kankkunen were immediately flat out. So too were the Subaru drivers, Vatanen and his exciting teammate Scotsman Colin McRae, who at 25 is the youngest driver contesting the World Championship. Carlos Sainz was also pushing hard, but was finding it hard to match the times of Kankkunen. On the third stage of the rally, he overstepped the mark and crashed out of the event. He and his co-driver, Lewis Moyer, were unhurt. Look at this side, Roger. A few stages later, Auriol was another retirement. He was the only driver to match Kankkunen's times, and on the sixth stage, whilst just 7 seconds behind his teammate, he suffered terminal mechanical problems. The shape of the rally was beginning to unfold. Behind the Toyota of Kankkunen were the two Subarus of McRae and Vatanen, the two Fords of Francois Delacour and Mickey Biasion, and then the Australians, Ross Dunkerton and Canberra driver Neil Bates in a Toyota. The day was marred, though, by tragedy. On the third stage, the same one that claimed Carlos Sainz, New Zealand's Possum Bourne flipped his Subaru at high speed and hit a tree. His co-driver, Roger Freeth, sustained serious internal injuries, and even though he was given emergency treatment within 5 minutes, he died 2 hours later in hospital. The 39-year-old doctor of astrophysics was a former motorcycle champion and was the current holder of the New Zealand land speed record at 194 miles an hour. Roger Freeth was a warm and outgoing man who lived his life to the fullest. He'll be sadly missed. Would you know my name if I saw you in heaven? second day of the rally, the big question in the minds of the drivers was, would anyone be able to catch Juha Kankkunen in the remaining Toyota? On the previous day, the Finnish ace had won every stage and had built up a 1:17 lead.
Did you expect that you'd be able to dominate quite in this way?
No, it was a bit of a surprise also for me, but our car seems to be very good, and the suspension side and handling side, and also we have good tires, so works well together.
It's still very early in the rally. Are you pushing very hard at this stage, or are you just trying to take it reasonably easy?
No, I try to push, of course, because it's so early that nothing to save yet. You have to still to go fast.
If anyone was to bridge the gap, it would be this man, the youthful Scot, Colin McRae, in a Subaru. His all-out attack was simply heroic. On several stages, he managed to do what no one else had been able to do on day one. He pegged back Kankkunen. But as he started to make inroads, Kankkunen just nudged up a gear and went harder.
What's the strategy at the moment for you in second place? Is it just to try and hold things together and see if something breaks in Juha's car?
Yeah, just try and keep going at the pace we're going and make sure that we don't make a mistake, and maybe he will, or he has a mechanical problem.
McRae's teammate, the exciting Ari Vartman, moved up into third place, and as always, he was pushing the limits through the trees. Although devastated by the loss of their likeable colleague Roger Freeth the day before, the Subaru team had decided to press on because, as team leader David Richards said, it was the most fitting mark of respect for him. However, for a philosophical man like Vartman, the normal problems faced by a driver took on a different dimension that day.
You know, competition-wise, it hasn't gone very well at all. We have had all kind of problems, you know, car stopping and gear lever coming up, and now the turbo went. We had to drive 2 stages without the turbo functioning properly. But so what after all, considering what happened to Roger, so I've got no right to complain, none whatsoever.
The two Ford Escort Cosworths of Francois Delacour and Nicky Biasson were performing well in their first outing in Australia. Delacour in particular was impressive on the unfamiliar roads and happy with the car.
I am in front of Nicky, and the difference between Nicky and me is big, and for that I am enjoying, because I think it's because I try to do the maximum and to go fast, but if we compare with the Toyota, we are very far, and I don't know, because my car is fantastic here. I think maybe they have done big progress since New Zealand.
Ross Dunkerton didn't start the day all that well in his new Mitsubishi Lancer. Alternator problems caused him some anxiety and he lost time. Back on the road, he was pushing hard in the unfamiliar car, even though he hadn't fully worked out the handling.
The car is very, very fast off the line. In actual fact, on a straight line, it's probably quicker than the Subarus. The braking is excellent on it. There's just this minor problem of getting it to handle, which is only a matter of testing. And that, as we said, you know, we've only been in the car for 1 or 2 days, where most of these cars have been running for a long time, and these guys have had a lot of time behind the wheel. I'm just holding on to it and trying to sort it out.
For a while, Canberra driver Neil Bates took over 6th place ahead of Dunkerton. Bates, who leads the Australian Rally Championship, was enjoying the drive, especially as he'd been given a new competition gearbox by Toyota.
Well, you're right up there and battling it out with Ross Dunkerton at the moment. Is that where you expected to be?
I was hoping we'd be there, and that's where we are, so I'm extremely pleased about that. Ross is probably going a little bit quicker, but I think he had a couple of problems this morning, but we'll try and see what we can do this afternoon.
As always, South Australian Ed Ordinsky was appearing unremarkable on the road, but doing remarkable things in the overall standings. In his standard Lancer, he was in 8th place outright, ahead of many more powerful cars and leading his Group N class.
It was pretty tough going yesterday, but we had a good run in the dark stages, and we've got to keep going now, though, because it's still a long way to go.
Are you still attacking, hoping that you're going to put more distance behind yourself and the other Group N competitors?
Yeah, about 95%. We're opening a gap on Inouye a little this morning, and because it's such a huge day tomorrow, we need to have a couple of minutes up our sleeves.
Throughout the day, Juha Kankkunen maintained the pressure, but unlike on the previous day, he wasn't able to extend his lead. McRae kept nibbling at his heels, forcing him to go flat out. When the drivers arrived back in Perth for another go at the Langley Park spectator stage, the two were separated by the same margin that had existed at the beginning of the day. Kankkunen led by 1 minute 19 over McRae. Bartman was third, Delacour fourth, Biasion fifth. Dunkerton was back in sixth ahead of Bates and Ordinsky, who also led the Group N class. The longest day of the event lay ahead, and we'll be bringing you that shortly. Day 3 is perhaps the most important day of the rally. It's the longest day by